Our next speaker is Mr. Anirban Gupta. He is the Executive Director of Dhriti, a not-for-profit organization that promotes and protects micro, small and medium enterprises. He is also a lead consultant for Dhriti Professional Services, a consultancy offshoot of Dhriti. Mr. Gupta is the recipient of many awards, including Change Looms Award for Young Social Entrepreneur, and is named as one of the FYSE Top 100 Future Entrepreneurs of Asia. I now request Mr. Anirban to deliver his address.
Thank you, Gurpreet. Good afternoon. थोड़ा बढ़िया वाला आफ्टरनून होना है यार. Thank you. Interesting. Today we are talking about social entrepreneurship and women's entrepreneurship, and I have been. A lot of people have called me social entrepreneur, and so we've been actually thinking about the concept of social entrepreneurship for a long time, and when we're thinking about it, we really try to figure out that why is this concept of social entrepreneurship? Who are social entrepreneurs? And one of the strongest things that came out is behind entrepreneurship and social, unsocial, under social, jo bhi hai, but behind entrepreneurship there is a very strong reason that there is some sort of deprivation, kisi tarah ka. And either they are deprived, either the people who have started it, they are deprived, or they are seeing deprivation, and that makes them uncomfortable and they want to change that. हर जगह पे इसी तरह की बात रही है. So we were doing this study, so we figured that Rajasthan, Gujarat and Punjab have a lot of entrepreneurs coming out. मतलब अगर हम इंडिया की ये देखें तो गुजराती और पंजाबी और इनको बड़ा मारवाड़ी कहते हैं कि हाँ भाई इन लोग को तो they know it, it's in their blood. If you understand what happened, Rajasthan and Gujarat both were water scarce states. तो उनको अपना पेट पालने के लिए कुछ ना कुछ करना पड़ता था. So they had to get into some or the other form of entrepreneurship because agriculture was not feeding them. था नहीं, जमीन नहीं दे रही थी उनको. Punjab had a different problem. Over the history of India, ये हमारे मतलब बहुत सारे मुल्कों से लोग घुसते थे इंडिया में हीरे जवाहरात लेने के लिए, and Punjab was the face of it. So what happened is that Babur came in, सारा ले गया, कोई और आया, सारा ले गया. So Punjab never had anything. जो भी वो create करता था, लूट के ले जाते थे. So they had to fight for it. They had to fight for it, and that's the reason they have become very entrepreneurial. If you see, Punjabis can go anywhere and do business, no issues at all. Similarly, अगर हम दूसरे context में ले, when we were thinking of women entrepreneurship, अगर आप देखें in the Indian context, men and women have traditionally been given two different. आप ये करते हो, आप ये करते हो, and you are expected to do this, and you are expected to do that. However, one of the major expectations out of women is घर चलाओगे आप. लेकिन अगर ये जो मेन पार्ट है, उन्होंने घर चलाने के लिए पैसे नहीं दिए तो घर कैसे चलाएंगे? और ये होने लगा. तो ये घर चलाने के लिए, so they were deprived of the basic fact that they were not able to raise their family, and they're very concerned about it. So they started going into it. My dadi, she's not a very famous entrepreneur, but she used to sweaters bunti thi and used to sell in the, क्योंकि my dada was not able to get that kind of a salary that sari needs पूरी हो. So she became entrepreneurial to fill that gap. My bua did that. So that has been a trend in women also. So it's linked to deprivation in certain senses. Now, one of the basic, I think Sairi was talking about is एक बहुत बड़ी problem India में रही है, one of the biggest deprivation India में रही है is that good governance. So we never ever over a period of time we've been very happy with the governance that we've got, and we've been deprived of that. तो पहले a lot of people used to crib about it. सरकार ये नहीं करती सरकार. Then the trend changed. फिर सरकार नहीं करती, हम करेंगे. And that's how the entire concept of social entrepreneurship actually got a very large forum in India. So राजस्थान में अगर watershed पे काम हो रहा है, so it's that deprivation which allowed them to work on that. So that's probably the base that we figured that it's base for social entrepreneurship. Over a period of time, yes. देखा चुप कीजिए बहुत बोल रहे हैं. So if I were to round it up, social entrepreneurship और नहीं, I was talking about कि women entrepreneurship again, हम अगर देखें तो वो कहीं उसी में लिंक है. तो over a period of time, if there has been a rise in the incidence of women entrepreneurship, I feel the reason for that is that they have been deprived for a long period of time, and that it's their turn. So they are just taking, they will make that distance now and do it. Look at it, and I'm sitting in a panel where I'm not supposed to sit. It's their panel today. And amazing work each and every one of them are doing. 2 minutes are over. We can have more questions in the question and answer round. So any questions from you guys, we'll be happy to take. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Anirban. The only entrepreneurship experience I had was when I sold extra IPL tickets for no profit, no loss. And after listening to you, I think it was a mistake. Next speaker is Captain Indrani Singh. Captain Indrani Singh, as a commander, flies the Airbus family of aircrafts. She has the distinction of being the first ever woman in Asia to fly the Airbus A320. And she is the first woman commander on the wide-bodied Airbus A300. Captain Singh is the secretary of Literacy India Trust, a not-for-profit organization. The trust has benefited over 50,000 children and women across India. Captain Singh has won many awards and accolades, including Godfrey Phillips Special Award for Bravery in Social Cause and Women Achievers Award 2009. I now request Captain Singh to deliver her address.
Hi everybody. I am not flying these days. Both my hands are fractured, so wings are clipped. Thank you for inviting me over here. And you know, I'm a pilot. So pilots are given a checklist. Pilots are given an opportunity for takeoff and landing. You know, then land the aircraft, make the passengers very happy. But many times I've been asked as to why one has to, why did had to start Literacy India? There must be something which is, you know, Anirban put it, you see the deprivation around you. Things around you were not in order, and somehow all of us, it's our duty, I feel, that we should contribute in some way or the other to bring a change. And I'm so goddamn happy about it, because I've been running this organization for the last 19, 20 years. And in the last 7-8 years, I find young people coming forward and doing something across India, and it makes me very happy. When I started, I found quite a bit of apathy, which is the change which I find now. And after starting Literacy India, we found that educating is good enough. You educate children, but where are the jobs? And I'm an average student, and with my average grades, do I have an opportunity to get a good job? Even if I get a good job, even if I get to go and appear for the interview, I need to be 100%. Will I get a job? So then I realized that it is not easy for everybody. And if you see it, most of us, about 80% I've come across are not 100%. They are maybe 70%, 60%, 40%. So where will they go? In this country, such a vast population, what are we going to do? And I don't understand this enterprise thing. I don't understand anything about it. I just think that we got to do something about it. We got to take things in our hand and bring change. और अपने साथ अगर 10 लोग का भी फायदा हो जाता है तो क्यों नहीं? अपने साथ 4 हाथ और खड़े हो जाते हैं तो क्यों नहीं? And that is our attitude. That has been always been my mission. That Literacy India got into women empowerment, and women empowerment led to setting up our own craft division. What was the need? It was not seeing Fab India or any other organization. It was actually, I found the women were not confident enough to reach that level till we show them the platform. Hey, this is where we are selling your talent. This is where we are giving you the the opportunity to showcase. And also in last so many years, we have showed them the competition, the severe competition with China. Chinese goods and Chinese artifacts, Chinese products, bags, furnishing, everything. We are competing hard with them. And I pick up a Chinese product and show it to them, and I say, look at the finish. Forget about whether it works after a few days, but look at the finish for a buyer to pick it up from anywhere if it is showcased. So it catches eye, and China is a great example for us because it's able to copy every goddamn label. Even Apple is going and getting the manufacturing done at China. Aircraft parts, fantastic aircraft parts. So aircraft part जब खराब हो जाता है तो इंजीनियर मुझे बोलता है मैम ये ना चाइना में बनकर आया इसलिए खराब हो गया. But I'm saying that we are going and reaching out to China and getting it done. What happens? Why not India? I find that in India, attitude sucks. People are very, very living in their own world. Attitude about the companies, government, people, institution. That has become a stumbling block for our growth. If we can somehow, I'll give you my example only. We are running a beautiful craft division, a lot of good things. Companies like World Bank, Microsoft, American Express, I can give you big names who are associated with us and they procure products from us. They give these women opportunities not only for their kind of 2 minute up. Okay, it's okay. So, see, pilots are supposed to look, they have to have an eye behind them. So I could, hear the tiptoe. So many of the students had come to our facility and I asked them, कि हम लोगों ने start तो कर दिया, but I am facing every day. It's not easy. You start an enterprise to make things work. It's not easy. Just to tell the women about quality control, just to manage a production center, it's not easy. And making is okay. You have learned your craft, making is fine. You come up with various designs, fine. How will you sell it? What are the things you need to sell to the market? all that R&D needs to be done. Are we on the right path? Are we selling right? Today, something else you're able to sell, tomorrow it may not work. So that is where our innovation comes. So setting up an enterprise is fine, but making it sustain and grow and become successful is another story. I'm living in that story day to day. So all of you who do have this in their somehow mind, ki I'm going to start something, must do a homework. Must do a homework by studying the various models people are into. What are the challenges? Study that and then get into it. Thank you.
Thank you, Captain Singh. Our next speaker is Ms. Pooja Goyal. She is the founder and director of IntelliTots, one of the leading preschool and daycare chains in Delhi NCR, and has been awarded the Education Excellence for Best Preschool in Delhi NCR. She is an engineer from IIT Delhi and an MBA from INSEAD France. She has worked in the US, Europe and India. Ms. Goyal has been awarded the Woman of Substance Award by BIS Divas for her contribution to the field of education and is a mentor to many women entrepreneurs. I now request Ms. Goyal to deliver her address.
Thank you for inviting me here, and secondly, thank you for listening. I know this is probably the last session. Talking is very easy, listening is very hard, and you've been doing it all day, so thank you. The panelists actually set the stage for a lot of what I was going to talk about. As Saili said, the world is changing and the context is changing, and a lot of what applies to women entrepreneurship, I come from the field of education, and I see a lot of it applies to education as well. So as Saili was describing, the journey from industrial revolution, so from agricultural revolution to industrial revolution to now the information age, right? When in industrial age, it was a lot about aggression, it was a lot about standardization, it was a lot about, okay, you do this, you do this, you do this. Everybody was a peg in the cog in the wheel. And now with that change happening over the ages, it has huge implications for education. So the context, it actually, so again, as Saili said, what are the most valuable companies now? Apple, Facebook. And where does their power come from? From innovative ideas, collaboration. And that has huge implications for education. And what are the important things when we are talking about education, when we are bringing up our children, and when we are preparing them for the world to come. And you will not believe it, but it actually starts pretty early on. It starts when the child is born, because the first 3 to 6 years of a child's life are very, very critical in his or her life, because about 85 to 90% of the brain gets developed during that time. So it has huge implications. And I'll use an analogy, So when in industrial age, it was all about standardization. Now it's all about standing apart, being able to showcase your ideas, being able to portray your strengths, being able to work in a field which you are passionate about, which you can drive. So, in our education system that we studied in, it was all about, okay, a tree is a tree is a tree is a tree. Everybody needs to learn tables and everybody needs to know English, and that's what matters and that's what is assessed, right? But in this new context, if you look at it, if you have an apple seed and you plant an apple seed, can you make it into a mango tree? an apple tree needs different conditions to thrive, has different strengths, has different fruit compared to a mango tree. And so when now we look at children and we work with children, it is important for us to identify what each child stands for. And it requires a long time for mindsets to change. So a lot of my job is actually in educating parents. Because for parents who are coming from that system, it's a lot about, why is the child not getting homework? Why is the child... It's okay. Because when you look at the jobs for tomorrow, the world of tomorrow, it's very different. I'll give you a stat. The top 10, and you guys will be familiar with it because you are on campus, the top 10 in-demand jobs in 2010 did not exist in 2004. And you can relate to it, right? What are the top jobs right now? Flipkart and Amazon and Jabong, which didn't exist as an industry, right? Now for entrepreneurship, how does this have an implication? When we talk about entrepreneurship, there is a cliche that we hear a lot, which is follow your passion. A lot of us have heard, Steve Jobs quote, life is too short, don't spend living somebody else's life. Keep looking for that thing that gives you passion. I think the problem in our system is, and I have experienced it. Our system is, we are so busy achieving, doing check marks, we don't even know what our passion is. And it is actually more a problem with overachievers, people who go to good colleges and do really well in life, because the focus is so much on being on the top or getting the right job, we don't take the time, or the system doesn't give us the time to explore what are we passionate about, and which is very important. So I can see that. So until you can find what your passion is, until you can follow your passion, I would say follow your curiosity. If something excites you, try and go in that direction and be curious about different things. Entrepreneurship or life is not about that vision, and we hear a lot of people say that, okay, we have to get there. But it is a combination of a deliberate and emergent strategy. So you have a fair idea of this is where I want to go, but along the way, there are things that happen, there are opportunities that come, and a lot of it is because you make those happen, but a lot of it is opportunities that come your way that allow you to explore different things. So as an entrepreneur, you should be open to looking at those opportunities, considering those opportunities, and then finally reaching the destination or the vision that you have in your mind, which will take shape as you take that journey. So more during the question answer session, I'll be happy to answer questions.
Thank you, Ms. Goel. Thank you, panel, for enlightening us on social entrepreneurship. So we have time for maximum 2 questions. So if anybody wants to ask, please be very brief. Yes.
My question is to Anirban sir. That, sir, does demographics play a key role in deciding, in evaluating your entrepreneurship skills?
Could you, yeah. what's your name?
My name is Shayu.
Shayu.
Yes, sir.
What do you exactly mean? Demographics में क्या बताना क्या चाहते हैं?
सर बताना ये चाहते हैं कि इंडिया इज़ अ वेरी लार्ज कंट्री. India is a very large country and a person can be from any part of India. So whether you are from north or you are from south or you are from east or west or whatever part of the country, thus being associated with that strata of the country governs your entrepreneurship abilities and skills. That's my question.
If you see, skills हैं, ठीक है, and it's passed on. तो अगर I presume that this comes from the fact that I talked about Gujarat, Punjab, and it gets passed on. So it gets for a Marwari, it gets passed on in a dinner table, right? सीख लेता है, बात करते करते, which means it's transferable, right? Then it is not. So if it is transferable, it is not about a region. It is about who is trying to transfer it. अगर क्योंकि and region इसलिए भी नहीं होता है क्योंकि the people go around. मतलब people from Rajasthan are working in any part of the world. So that is now the thing is the issue is कहाँ से उठता है? How does it come into being? It comes into being from some kind of a deprivation. So that the context was that कि यहाँ पे ये problems थी इसके वजह से बढ़ी. अभी जैसे I will take it to a next level. South India में बहुत सारे ये IT based हैं, technology based ये शुरू हो गए. So what were they deprived of? Yeah, the next question will be what were they deprived of? So if you actually look at it, ये कि जो academic institutions थी, higher academic institutions थी, it was a Hindi heartland thing, so वो सारे वहाँ पे situate होनी शुरू हुई. So there was a certain level of deprivation that was happening and they tried to cover for it and created such an environment. तो ये regional नहीं है, but it's the context. किस context में क्या बदल रहा है? तो it might be regional, it might be a local context जिसकी वजह से एक इंसान निकल के आता है. It might be in a family, somebody is coming out because of, but that's the analogy and not the demographics or the geography.
Thank you, sir.
One last question, if anybody has one last question. Yeah. We can hear.
There was this quote by Mr. Bhaskar Damodaran in the finance guru in School of Business. So he said that it's something that is applicable to all fields, that if you don't know where you are going, it doesn't matter the process that gets you. So that is quite true actually. But sometimes I come from a lot of friends of mine who feel that they don't know the true purpose of life, the place where they want to be. So they believe that if we do what we're doing regularly, if we do the things that we say right, so eventually that will get us somewhere. So they will lack a goal, so they don't know the true purpose. So what will be your opinion?
So I think irrespective of who you are, I don't think anybody starts with knowing their true purpose. There is a slower process, there's a faster process. To some it's a more apparent thing, to some it takes a longer time. And maybe some of us don't even discover our true purpose ever. Maybe we don't even know whether this is the real purpose. Maybe it's just another step in the chain, maybe just another link. The point is, as Indrani said, are you curious? Are you going to learn at every step? Because if you just look at the lifespan of a human being, you're born and you will die, and there are things in between. It's as simple as that. Death is certain, time of death is not certain, which means there is a time on earth that you want to make a creative use of. What is your attitude while you're on the journey? Typically, anybody entrepreneurial will have the attitude of being open to possibilities, being open to failure, will have some investment in relationship and the context they live in the environment they live in. And I think somewhere being open to the fact that there is an abundance around you of opportunity, challenges. There is abundance. So what looks like a challenge is also an opportunity. What looks like a lack of resources is also the opportunity to create more resources. What looks like a gap is also the opportunity to create another to close the gap. But being able to respond to these uncertainties in a creative fashion is what the entrepreneurial response is, right? Otherwise, you're just another cog in the wheel.
Basically, it's all your attitude. It's all attitude. We keep telling us make short-term goals, long-term goals. We should have some sort of a goal in our head. Even if you have to, let's say, play a football match and win it, And while you're at it and you might lose a goal and you're not able to make it or whatever, that journey of going and making it may tell you कि मेरा position ठीक नहीं था, I was not here. That's the journey. You'll be surprised on a treadmill or whenever I'm on a walk, maximum ideas come. Maximum ideas they come and literally floods me, and then I have to go back, recap and write it down. Where does it come from? So I lost by what has been said. You just walk. You just go for it. Things will fall in place and it will give you a direction and somehow some sort of a vision and an attitude for, you will get a clarity. It happens with the youth, generally with the youth. I've been there too. And it is, you do get lost. And I definitely agree with her that challenges are in turn an opportunity. And I think we all should actually look into it. Why you are here, why this conference is here, why we are talking, what she's saying, the education, curiosity, all these things, the ingredient है education. Not just, opening a book and reading also. Even from hearing also from people by passing by, you might get an idea. And you may work on it and tomorrow you're a billionaire. You never know. So, go for it.
I just add one quick point. The touchstone is whether you are enjoying the journey, whether you love what you are doing, despite all the failures, despite all the challenges, despite you being the cleaner, and despite your system breaking down, are you still enjoying it? There is a concept called flow, which is when you are in it, you just forget the work. So, and there is enough evidence now in neuroscience to say you perform the best when you are happy, when you are in this flow. And as an entrepreneur, there is so much uncertainty around you, and that's why finding your passion of when do you get in flow. If you are in that flow, you'll figure it out.
Thank you for calling us an expert. लेकिन वही है, we are in a journey. So if I were to take what you talked about and हम लोग क्या कर रहे हैं and journey and all that stuff, I'll tell you one thing. अजीब दास्तान है ये मंजिलें क्या है कौन सी?
I know I don't get a chit for this. I'm extending it. But my question is for Sari. Sari, I've been curious since the time I got to know from Harvinder about Sheroes.com. I've heard a lot about Heroes, but I want to know what is Sheroes.com.
Thanks for that question. It's Sheroes.in, and I think we're particularly Indian in our context, and the context being the fact, what I said, there are 5% women in Indian leadership, 17% in workforce. A lot of them, like I said, may not make it, at least in my lifetime, to the formal workforce. But Sheroes.in is a career platform for women, which means women who are starting their careers, women in corporate jobs, women turning entrepreneurial, women taking breaks, women coming back. So any woman who has a career question on their mind is welcome to Sheroes as a user. What we really do for our users is put opportunities on the table which are very diverse in shapes and size. By shape and size, I mean the format. So whether somebody wants to work from home or turn entrepreneurial or go back to a corporate job or start their career or take up an internship or turn volunteer, all these opportunities are available. There's an online mentor board where we have a panel of about 30 CEOs, coaches, entrepreneurs who have volunteered their time to invest in young women, older women, asking career questions. And there is a community where we share content, resources, stories of inspiration. The idea is let no woman fall off her own career map, let women's career become an important agenda in their own lives and in lives of their families and people around them, and let every woman find a response to any career need that she might have.
I thank the esteemed panel for their valuable views. Thank you. I have an announcement to make. Please don't go away. There's an entrepreneurship quiz. So I now invite Ms. Abdeen to conduct the quiz. Thank you.
It's for the entire audience. Faculties can also participate.
सर हमारे लिए ऑप्शनल है कैन ऑल्सो हो गया मैंडेट
The person who gives the right answer will get one chocolate for one correct answer. So we are starting off. Question 1. Can we have question 1 on the screen, please? A graduate of management from the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, this man took the family business of locks and vegetable-based soaps to unbelievable heights. Name the entrepreneur. Let's see.
ओनर ऑफ गोदरेज
Okay, that's the correct answer. Next question. Question number 2. While studying in Stanford, this young man was called back to handle the family business after his father's sudden death. He took the family business of oils, soaps, lighting and toiletries and made it one of the biggest software companies in India. Who is Really? Any other answer? So who answered first? Sonia, you are done for the day. So Devika ma'am answered it, so we give the chocolate to Devika ma'am. Guys, let's clap for the winners at least. Students, you really need to gear up, See, your faculties are taking away all the chocolates. Okay, so now what we'll do is, since there is a confusion, you will raise the hands. I'll ask you to answer and then answer, okay? Don't answer like that. You people are losing all your chocolates to the faculties. Raise your hands, we'll call you, okay? Next question. Who is considered as the father of Indian industry? Who is considered as the father? No, raise your hands. Can we have the chocolate for Vivek, please? Vivek. Guys, let's clap for him. Next, Vivek, you have to come down to take the chocolate. Okay. No home delivery. Next question. Name the two entrepreneurs from India who became CEOs at the age of 14 and 12. Name them and their company. Raise your hands.
I'm sure.
Okay, Prateek, you have raised your hand. Where is Prateek? Prateek.
Sanjay and Shravan.
Let's see. Company, sorry. Yeah. No. He's done. Prateek is done with the answer. Prateek, what's the name of the company? Haha, you are googling it, I know that. Prateek, you get the chocolate, okay? It's 4 dimensions. You people are not allowed to use Google, okay? Who is the Bollywood actor who invested in a cricket stadium and launched his own brand within all e-commerce platform in India? Name the actor and his company. Raise your hands. Yugam, can you answer? What's the answer, Yugam?
You have to know actor.
Yeah.
No.
No idea?
No,
Okay.
I think Shah Rukh Khan maybe.
Shah Rukh Khan? No.
Sunil Shetty. Sunil Shetty.
No, please don't answer. Yeah, okay. Neeti Sharma is answering. Yes, Neeti?
Hrithik Roshan.
Okay, and what's the name of his company? Brand name? Okay, fine, we'll give it to Neeti. It's Hrithik Roshan and HRX clothing line. Okay? So let's clap for her. Next question. At the age of 8, this person was reading his father's book on stock market. When he was 12, he moved with his father, who became a congressman, to Washington in the early 40s. There he used to deliver 500 newspapers every morning and earn $175, which was equivalent to man's full-time salary then. Name the most...
Warren Buffett.
Who answered that?
अरे मैंने भी किया है.
Anubhav.
After.
Let's clap for Anubhav. She has been a famous actor's daughter, a director and a producer. She dreamt of being an actress but could not because of being obese. She decided to be in the same stream. Sonia, let me finish. She decided to be in the same stream and has successfully launched various ventures and now owns a production company. Name the...
Balaji Telefilm.
Please raise your hands. What's her name? What's your name? Okay, so we give it to Shreya and the chocolate. Guys, let's clap for her. Next question. This man worked with Bain and Company, a management consulting firm. When he executed his idea of putting across all the menu cards on the internet, an organization came into existence. Who is this person?
Zomato.
तेरे पास जो है चॉकलेट यार रख ले.
I get lost. Yes. Social media team is using all social networks. We won't give it to them. No. Okay, who's heading from that side? Prateek. Prateek
Zomato.
No, Prateek cannot answer again. No.
Bhupendra Goyal, Zomato.
Whose voice was this? Anubhav, we are not giving it to you.
We said it.
Okay.
Ma'am, no, everyone knows the answer.
Madhav, okay, we'll give it to you. Now, if you people want to answer, raise your hands. Oprah Winfrey, an entrepreneur, philanthropist, a beauty pageant winner, she hosted the most successful talk show and now owns a production company as well as a network. Name the company and the network owned by Oprah Winfrey. Yes, Harper Productions is right. And the show is the Oprah Winfrey Show, Oprah Winfrey Network. What's her name? Sorry? Sumantro. So we give the chocolate and the applause. Next question. Ready, all of you? Reid Hoffman, an internet entrepreneur, venture capitalist, and author. He wanted to be a professor in Stanford University, but eventually founded the second largest social networking site. Wrong answer. It's LinkedIn.
Networking site.
It's LinkedIn. Who said LinkedIn? What's your name? Sangeeta. Okay, we give this chocolate to Sangeeta. Let's clap for her. He's a Chinese entrepreneur who developed a site scoring algorithm for a search engine page ranking which was awarded a US patent. Name the organization and the person. Sorry, that is just wrong.
In Baidu.
Oh, no, you can have the chocolate.
Baidu? Is it Baidu?
It's Robin Lee from Baidu. Okay, we give it to Gurpreet, so it's okay. He answered. Next question. He started his entrepreneurial career by selling bhajiyas to pilgrims at Mount Girnar over the weekends and returned to India in 1958 with rupees 50,000 and set up a textile organization. Name the person, yes.
Dhirubhai. No.
That's telecommunication. What's your name?
Udit.
Udit, we give it to Udit.
Textile Vimal company.
Next question. He started his career as a rice trader from Hisar, Haryana and transformed his interest into an entrepreneurial venture and gave rise to cinema multiplexes and media holdings. What is the name of the organization that he founded? What is the name of the organization? Sorry guys, that is not the right answer. Nidhi, we'll have the answer from Nidhi only. Nidhi, what's the answer?
It's Zee Films and the person is Subhash Chandra.
Excellent, that's the right answer. Ready for the next question? An entrepreneur from royal Muslim family studied Ayurveda and harmful effects of chemicals in human body. She established her all of you are disqualified. I have not finished the question. No one gets the chocolate if I am not allowed to finish the question. Question disqualified. Next question. No chocolates to anyone. J.K. Rowling is listed 11th on Forbes list of most successful women entrepreneurs in the year 2013. She has authored a crime novel in the year 2014 with an alternative name. Name the novel and the name. An Indian-American entrepreneur invented a platform to send and receive messages electronically. Name the person and the platform. From this side, yes, what's the answer, Weber? Hotmail, okay, so name the person. Sabir Bhatia, Hotmail, okay, so we give it to Weber this time. Okay, we have 3 last questions left. So people, please gear up. An American entrepreneur who was crippled by bone disease at the age of 10, then became an excellent football player and learned flying at the age of 15. He founded the world's largest overnight express delivery company. Name the person and the organization. Again, you people will get disqualified if you answer like that. Okay? So the person as well. The pizza, you know the answer?
Fredericks!
It's Wallace Smith of FedEx. Next question. Before becoming a successful businessman, he became the first pilot of India. He went on to set up Air India International, India's first international airlines. Quiet. He is an entrepreneur, philanthropist, businessman and founder of India's oldest company. Where is Nishant Anand? Yes. Avantika Prashar has the answer. Avantika Prashar. Ma'am, it's Jamshedji Tata. So we give it to her. No, that's not the correct answer. I'm very sorry. Yes, Aman?
Captain Gopinath.
That's not the answer. So where do you know the answer? No, this is Google talking, right? No. Okay, so we give it to her once again. J.R.D. Tata and Tata. You said Jamshedji Tata, guys. Expanded into the fields of chemical, cement, rayon, etc. Name the person after raising your hand. No good pizza, not allowed. Yes. That's the right answer. So we give it to you. And the last question. He is the founder of the second largest hotel industry in India and is aptly called father of hotel industry of India. He became the first Indian to run and run a chain of hotels in India. Who is he? Tell me the name. Who is he? Who said that? We give it to her and we wind up with the quiz. That was an excellent participation by all the students. Well done. We have a surprise performance now for all of you.
Good evening. Thank you so much. I'm really encouraged. Now, we'll move on. We have Mr. Rajesh Sahni and Mr. Rajkishan Nair, whom I would request to please come on stage. Mr. Rajesh Sahni is our...
How is the baby? Interesting? Boring? No answer?
Interesting.
Yeah. See, you've heard a lot about entrepreneurship. We are into the closing session. People talked about framework of entrepreneurship, the financing aspect, how do you deal with failure, how important dealing with failure is in entrepreneurship. Last session was on social entrepreneurship. We have here a very renowned person. I'm privileged to introduce and welcome Mr. Rajesh Sahni. Rajesh is the founder of Global Super Angels Forum, known as GSF, India's leading multi-city tech accelerator for the brightest tech startups in India. Rajesh is the host and curator of two leading tech startup conferences in Asia. Where Do We Go Now in Bangalore and GSF in New Delhi. His journey has been a continuum of reinvention waves. He brought private radio, Times FM, to India in the early 90s, redefining youth culture. He was at the cusp of early internet culture in India in early 2000. He built the IndiaTimes.com, the most valuable internet business in India in 2005. Subsequently, as a founding president of Reliance Entertainment, he was at the center of a massive transformation of the Indian film industry, where he oversaw the corporatization of mom and pop Bollywood businesses into multi-billion-dollar industry. He serves on the boards of a number of companies, Microland, IndiaMart, Reliance Broadcast Network, a number of them. He is also an alumnus of Harvard Business School and has a fellowship from the London School of Economics. I would like to share your thoughts.
For kind words. I want to thank IILM and Harvinder Singh who invited me a few days back, and I can never say Harvinder to anything he asked me to do. So I'm really privileged to be here. So I have you have the slide. The slides are not for you. They are for me as a pointer that I don't get carried away and just start rambling. So what I want to do today, next 10-15 minutes, put forward some thoughts. And I'll try and connect those dots to you. The thoughts may look random in the beginning, but my idea would be that at the end of 15 minutes you will see the picture. And I'll also be happy to interact with you. You have questions regarding startups, angel funding, VC rounds, building $19 billion WhatsApp. I'm happy to answer that. Right. So should I go ahead or? Before they set it up, if anyone has any question, I'm happy to take. So tell me, how many of you have ever worked in your life? Has anyone done any startup or entrepreneurial work? Only one. Have some of you done internships in companies?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Most of you are MBA students? Raise hands. How many of you are MBA students? How many of you are engineers? How many of you have coded ever? Coded, built something. How many of you have used Photoshop or some design tool ever? How many of you have used PowerPoint? So I have a bad news for you. And the bad news is that the PowerPoint doesn't matter. Photoshop matters. Coding matters. And it matters for a simple reason. And it's going to come to you as an even bigger shock. That the MBAs as we knew them are now dead. Let me explain this point about MBAs. The culture of this MBA was created by investment bankers, by consulting firms, and by big American corporates like GM and Coca-Cola. Post-war America. And at that point of time, we were in post-industrialization phase. And business schools like Harvard, Stanford, and Wharton created a stereotype manager. And the concept of a stereotype manager who would work either in these large corporations or will work with McKinsey's and Bain's and BCG's, or will work on Wall Street in companies like Goldman Sachs. And if you go to these colleges today, all case studies, even today, are geared up towards that. They are geared up towards creating a manager in these companies. But if you really go in the world today and you talk to the young people, talk to the really smart young people, right? And the smart young people even in HBS or Stanford Business School or even Wharton today, and I'm funding a startup out of Wharton, they just don't want to work for these companies. They want to work for themselves, right? And when you ask yourself, why do the smartest people of the world, the really bright people, don't want to work for these big brands. When I was growing up and I was your age, doing an MBA and then working for McKinsey or working for Goldman Sachs or working for Citibank was the thing. That was the thing to do. That's no longer the thing to do today. The thing to do today is to build next Facebook, to build next WhatsApp, or to build next Flipkart, or to build next Zomato, right? How many of you agree with this? Right? And then you ask yourself, and really ask yourself deeply and introspect, should you be doing MBA? Okay? So, before I get carried away, I wanted to take to the second thought, and we'll connect these thoughts. And the second thought is that there is a rise of startup culture, not just in India. That culture is across the world. And that culture is spreading like wildfire. And I travel a lot. I travel to Singapore, I go to China, I go to Korea, Japan, Berlin, Hamburg, London, Oxford, and multiple cities of the US. This idea of doing your own thing is now become mainstream, right? In any city of the world you go today, in last 10 years, the number of startups have multiplied at least 1,000 times. At least 1,000 times. And if you went to cities like Israel and cities like Singapore, you will feel as if you are in startup cities, or Berlin. Because that's the thing to do, that's the lifestyle. So, the point I'm trying to make is that it's a global rising mega trend. And it's a big, big trend. Most of the employment and most of the savvy governments across the world acknowledge it, will now be created by startups, not by the big companies. What's going to happen over the next 20 years is the jobs as we knew in large big companies are going to disappear. And most of the job creation is now going to happen in smarter, younger, nimbler, 5% teams, 20% teams, 50 people team. And we have to ask ourselves, are we equipped to work in that environment? And what kind of skills we need to have that? So that's a very big trend. The other big trend is the rise of the tech culture. And it started with the invention of the chip, right? And that's where the word Silicon Valley has come. Chip is nothing but silicon, right? Silicon is, in Hindi word, rate, mitti. So it comes from that, and on that chip there is some IP. And if you look at Silicon Valley, early Silicon Valleys in 60s and 70s, and that's when these chip companies came, Intel of the world. And a lot of wealth got created because that was the new things to do. Then came companies like desktop companies, Apple, Microsoft, IBM. Huge amount of value got created around those companies. But those companies either shut down, many of them, or changed. Then came the internet wave, the web wave as we knew it. And it created next generation of companies. Companies like Yahoo, AOL. And even that way is way past. And Google is also creation of that way. Then came companies like Facebook. But I think the biggest opportunity of the tech wave is coming now. So which is the wave we are living in? Anyone wants to answer? Anyone wants to even hint? Say, which is the tech wave we are living in? What kind of tech?
E-commerce.
Yeah, so we are living in a mobile age, right? Half the humanity has mobile. Half the humanity is now accessing internet on mobile. And very soon, in the next 5 years, everyone would have mobile. And that's where, especially in a country like India, 80-90% of our population would access internet on mobile through smartphones. And that's a huge tech wave, right? And it changes everything. From the way we prepare for our exams, from the way we search for our jobs, way we hunt for our house, way we transact with our banks, it changes everything. But I believe even a bigger wave is in the making. And that's the new wave which we call Internet of Things and wearable technologies. So now, with next generation of technology, things are going to get embedded in our bodies, and everything that we know, the refrigerator, the car we drive. Have you heard of things like connected drives, connected cars, right? So every object today, the chair here, the microphone here, the power sensing equipment, they all want to talk to each other, right? That's the world we are entering into. So what's the point I'm making? The point I'm making is that we are in a huge mega trend. And we're just beginning to scratch the surface of that. It's not the end of the tech cycle. It's just the tech cycle. And what do smart people want to do? Smart people, according to me, don't fight the trends. They ride the trends. Right? So if you looked at two big trends, which I sort of articulated, let me see if it works. How does it work? Can someone tell me how it works? Yeah, I got it. So, like that. So I was talking about this, the technology, rise of the technology culture. So, and what's the impact of this technology culture on now the startup culture? Right? Let's just look at the third aspect, and that's very significant. If you wanted to be an entrepreneur 10 years back, 20 years back when I was like your age, the startup cost was so high, right? You had to buy a factory, you had to have, bank loans, you needed to get some license from the government, you needed some godfathers, right? In the tech world, all of that is evaporated. It's not the requirement. 2 or 3 smart people sitting in a garage or sitting anywhere in the world can change the world. With the power of an idea, with an ability to code, an ability to distribute their thoughts in the form of an app or a product seamlessly, right? So what has it done? It's brought down the cost of doing a startup to almost zero. In fact, that's what the best ecosystems in the world do. They bring the cost of experimentation to zero, right? What are the other costs involved with doing a startup? The other cost involved with the startup is social shame, which is very big in India, for example, or used to be. What if my startup doesn't work? Can I get back into the job market? Right? Can I do another startup? Will someone else fund me if my startup didn't work? Would McKinsey still hire me? And I can tell you, and I'm involved with many hirings across many different boards, today that's not shame across the world. The smartest people that McKinsey is hiring or Goldman is hiring or any smart company or Flipkart is hiring in India or Jabong is hiring, they all have people who failed in the startups, right? Because these companies value their entrepreneurial experience. They value what they bring to the table when they go in a big job. So what am I trying to say? I'm saying the cost of experimentation in the form of social shame is disappearing, right? And it's disappearing even in India, right? Today no one wants to really work with Tatas and Birlas and Reliances of the world. won't you rather be aspiring to work with Zomatos or Flipkart or Snapdeal or WhatsApp kind of companies? Right. The last is now, for the first time in our history, the distribution challenges of building a product and distributing instantly across the world have disappeared. So you can get onto a Facebook platform or iTunes platform or Android Play and distribute your product instantaneously. And that's a huge advantage to entrepreneurs. So for entrepreneurs, the cost of doing startups has come down. The distribution challenges have been eliminated. The social shame has gone. In fact, it works to your advantage if you're a failed startup, if you want a big job. So all of that connects to me in the form of I don't know. Okay, I talked about this. So this is the last point. The last point is within the tech now, or within the tech entrepreneurship, what's the biggest opportunity? Where is it that will create biggest value? Right? There's so many opportunities. You can build a mobile app, you can build a game, you can solve some SaaS problem for enterprise customer. Where is it that you have the biggest problem? So I think the biggest problem is if you can now leverage this historic opportunity to go global. Build something that can cut across physical boundaries, right? And it all needs today imagination. So for me, the biggest opportunity or the value will be created when tech meets a global mindset and an entrepreneurship of a startup. So I want to give you two stories to end this talk. One is the company I invested in. It's called Biki, B-I-K-I. I met this team 3 years back, fresh out of Stanford, very young engineers, and they had a notion and an idea that crowdsourcing could be brought into subtitling for videos, right? And when I got into that company, the company was valued at a sub $1 million because it was an idea, smart engineers going to work on it. We sold that company last year, within 3 years of its inception, to a very big Japanese group for all cash, 225 million, within 3 years. And what did they do? They just an idea and they created a global footprint and a proof that this business can become big. Another company, you all heard of WhatsApp. April of 2013, I had a meeting with the founders and the team of WhatsApp. And we had taken our startups to the valley. And we were chatting and sort of in those chats, I got to know that they had rejected $1 billion offer to buy them at $1 billion offer Google had given them. April 2013. I revisited WhatsApp this summer, and you know the outcome. That company got sold for $19 billion. So what is that company? 3-year-old company built by two engineers. All they had were 40 engineers sitting in a garage kind of a setup, even now when I went there, who built a global business, a tech business and a startup culture. $19 billion outcome. So you decide, future is yours. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rajesh. I'll not take much time. It's quite exciting to think that you're going to lead the making of a world which is, as he put it, smarter, younger and nimbler world. I actually feel jealous of the potential that's before you. The kind of trends that are emerging sounds exciting. See, when I did my post-graduation in my university, that was 92, to log into the internet we had to wait for 3 days. And that too, the system was in the university library. And Kerala is today one of the centers of, hotspots of software industry in India. But at that time, I had to travel 14 kilometers to get access to the net. Today, you have everything on your phone, on your mobile. The latest trend that's coming up mobile. See, I'll end with a small story. The illiterate Kerala is supposed to have 100% literacy. The most illiterate fisherman in Kerala sells fish. He knows nothing to go to the sea and catch fish, but he sells fish at the most attractive, the best price that he can get using mobile. He has access to all the prices available, and he sells it to the best price. The mobile has enabled that. So the kind of opportunities before you is immense. I'll just end with a quote from Ernest Hemingway. You've heard about that story, Old Man and the Sea? There is an old man who wanted to kill a shark. He kept on trying and the shark kept on defeating him. The story doesn't end by the old man saying, capturing the shark. The story ends by saying, the old man saying, I might get destroyed, but I can never get defeated. Never get defeated. Good luck. I would like to invite Professor Sapna Popli for the closing remarks.
Before we have Sapna ma'am, I request you, thank you very much sir. There's a small performance that the Gurgaon students have prepared. So just wanted you to wait and hold on for just 5 minutes. And since you've been there with us for so long, so just 5 minutes, they've all prepared that. So we'll want you to close the session. And then we'll invite Sapna ma'am to do the closing. Thank you very much. Thanks for being a great audience. I now request upon Sapna ma'am to please give us the closing comments. And that's it from us. Thank you very much.
Good performance there, have had a good day of conference. As they say, all good things come to an end. I'd like to say all good things come to new beginnings. And we've heard so much about starting afresh, starting new, having your passion there, having a plan that works, a team, collaborations. All you need is passion and drive, and you've had it. Thank you so much, all speakers and audience, for being throughout the day. We look forward to more ignites and more sparks from students now. Thank you so much.